everybody, and welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis, and I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner.
And you didn't have anything to add to that. I was waiting for it. I'm Mitch. I went for a walk today.
Oh, sounds like my 3-mile run I did a couple weeks ago.
I've been trying to go almost every day.
Yeah.
So 2 to 3 miles. So I'm up to that, but it does hurt. At work, or I've been walking with a neighbor. I did that at lunch today. We walked around the little block or whatever, 3 miles.
Okay.
Took Gus.
How's it feel?
It hurts.
Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Man. Is that's the process?
I don't know. I think other stuff is going on. Like, everything hurts. It doesn't matter.
Does the surgery repair hurt?
I am starting to get feeling in that foot now more.
Okay.
And I can feel it. But it's tight and then it hurts. But other stuff hurts too.
Huh. Do you think that that's just you haven't done much, so everything's kind of be...
No, I think it's related to the other thing that we wanted to talk about. I think it's related to what they suspect. I've been having this issue with I thought was my joints for since my 20s, but I think it's flaring up really bad.
Yeah, well, let's jump into that. Today's episode, we're going to be getting a little bit personal. I'll say personal with Mitch, and hopefully the goal is that this is beneficial to somebody listening that is in the same boat at some time in their, I wouldn't even say running journey, their activity journey. Like pick an activity. For me, it might be even golf. Like, boom, what happens if? Or kayaking, or biking, or a hiker that that's their life. That's what they do. Or a runner, obviously, that's what they do.
And like you mentioned, we've been on a run, and we talked about it. At one point, what would you do if you couldn't run?
Yeah, you were. Well, I don't remember what it was. I don't remember why we were talking about it. I think you must have been in an injury state or something.
That could be. It's been plenty over the years now.
Yeah. And I remember running and saying, I don't know if you were coming back. You must have just been coming back or something like that. And you knew you were grouchy. You're like, yeah, I just haven't been my best self lately, or something to that effect. Obviously not those exact words, and that started the conversation of the whole, like, how we feel when we're running and how, the life that gives and brings. And I think I just made the comment of like, well, we need to be careful and recognize what happens if, take away whatever, what happens the next day.
Right. I feel so much. I haven't been my best self for months now that I even went as far as reaching out to a counselor at this point to talk to.
I mean, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. When your identity is tied to something so much, and it's not even like a negative thing, especially when you consider the support of family and friends around you. It would be different if Tammy, your wife, was upset because she didn't have anything to do with running, right? Like if she didn't like it and she didn't run, but she does, it would be different, but she supports it. She's like, yeah, I like that you do that. From the time that you started, especially where you were at physically, health-wise, things like that, you started running, and then you became Mitch the runner.
This has been, for the last, 17 or 18 years. I mean, it started out, I lost a bunch of weight. I started getting active, and we started everything has been around running and, or hiking or some physical activity. If we go on vacation, it's to do a race or to go to, or add on, like if we go somewhere, we might do a race and then we hike and we do things that are very physical. And through this process, I haven't been able to do that. I mean, I went as far as like, as soon as I got out of the boot, I booked a trip to Colorado. It did not turn out like I thought it was going to turn out. Like, I think it just made me grumpier. Because I love going out west. But part of going out west is to be able to get into the trails and do stuff, and I couldn't do it. Like, I could see some of that stuff, and I'm just not okay sitting and doing nothing. I went up to Bayshore to thinking that I could, like just to be there. I was miserable. Like I'm at the finish line. I was gonna hop on my bike and go see other runners out on the course. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Yeah.
So it just has not been fun.
Yeah, and when you look at what the unfortunate, I mean, it's all unfortunate, I guess, but when I look at things that make it worse is where you were at when it happened was kind of on a high.
Mm-hmm.
It was shortly after your 100, and things started to kind of progressively nag, or like just little bits and pieces started to kind of nag. It's I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but just little bits and pieces started to take you down.
It's because I was kind of researching and I was looking stuff up. When did certain things happen? And I have a lot of notes on that.
Yeah.
And the first thing, I did the 100 and it was a big high. Not long after that, COVID hits. On top of that, I get like they've always said my blood pressure was high and that it was borderline. Well, I go in and I end up with back issues. I go in and I find out I have a herniated disc. During that, they're like, your blood pressure is crazy. You need to do something about that. I mean, a trip to the ER later and they think I'm having a heart attack. It turns out I need to get put on medication. So for the last 5 years, I've been taking medication, but I haven't been watching it close and it's still high. So since my surgery, I've been really going after it. I've learned, and Rob and I were talking about this, you have to be your own advocate for that. Like they're not just going to guess that, you got to take your blood pressure every day and you got to give those numbers to them to see if you're on the right medication or if something's wrong. So I've been doing that and I've been sending them the numbers and my medication has quadrupled since then.
Wow.
So yeah, just trying to get it to a normal number. But within that, what I find out right after surgery, I had some tests done. And I had tests done, like I had low iron at one time. Like that's not in my notes. Like that stopped me. I almost didn't do the JMT because of low iron. Like I was fighting with that and I was on supplements. And then they're doing all these tests thinking that I had to lose, some blood somehow. So I'm doing all these tests. And turns out they do a heart test and they find like an abnormal valve. So they've been monitoring that since then. And then getting into the, after my surgery, I went in for some tests and they found an abdominal aneurysm. Well, Google that sometime and see how much fun that is if that burst. So I've been just super stressed out about all this stuff, thinking, am I ever going to run again?
And that basically led you to current.
Yeah.
That brings us to essentially to current.
Yeah. Well, and there's a thing, I've been dealing with this swelling and I talk about once in a while with you in my hand. So I'm like, okay.
You basically have gotten zero answers since your 20s.
Yeah. So I finally go in and I'm like, I see a rheumatologist and they do some tests. She's like, I suspect it that it's this. And you're looking up how to pronounce it.
Oh, yeah.
Ankylosing
Ankylosing spondylitis.
Yeah. So I'm currently on medication for that.
But you had never heard that before.
I didn't until I realized that's what Mick Mars has.
Mm.
And he's all crippled up. So it was interesting. I'm like, oh, like I always heard about this obscure thing, rare thing that he has. I don't know that it's it. So they're testing for it. But I know that since I haven't been active, my whole body hurts. So, and they say more activity actually helps. So I've been trying to walk more.
Oh, which would make sense why it's worse now, because you've just went through a season of not being able to be active, essentially.
Of basically nothing.
Yeah. So I guess that's the good news. Good news, bad news. Being active helps it. So it kind of would force you to start trying to work those things again as much as possible.
So I'm really taking it. Like I'm really trying to. Rob is a great guy. Don't tell him I said that. And he doesn't listen to the podcast very often, but he's been walking with me. So that's been like if I walk at lunch at work or something like that, but at home, we've gone a few times now where we walk around basically the neighborhood, around the block.
Gotcha.
Try to get a few miles in.
I'm supposing that everything like that, every little bit helps.
That's what I'm hoping. Like I'm supposed to do these little exercises. I can feel strength getting back to my calf because I haven't been using it, but it has got so long to go. I'm actually signed up for a couple marathons this fall.
Yeah.
That were deferred, that my hope is to get to them. And I'm really starting to think like, there's no way.
I mean, go back So if we go back to when you first started, first 10K, from there to the marathon, I mean, you're a long time removed from that. But if you remember, I'll bet you thought that's impossible.
I never thought I was going to do a marathon through all that. All I wanted to do was see how far I could go.
Yeah.
But now that I've run a marathon, I can't see anything else, it seems like.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest mental challenges getting over right now. Running specifically, I mean, because you have the mental strength now, you've been there and done that with so many things, that it's hard to say, well, I go back to that day I first started where literally walking to the end of my drive or running to the end of my drive and back was hard.
I remember doing the first couch to 5, the first time I tried to run 3 miles in a row outside. I can remember that yet and how hard it was.
Yeah. And hard.
And I'm just not looking forward to that. Like I want to be able to just do it.
But I don't know. I'm just guessing, but I wouldn't think that it would take the same. It's just going to be a different challenge.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to hurt because you're working things different. You're nearly 20 years older than you were then. Mm-hmm. So that's a big difference. You're kind of restarting in your 50s. However, you have the mental strength to know that you can do it. So I think that it's just super important that you take the necessary steps to stay healthy within that process, where before we could get away with it because we were 20 years younger.
I think that's fair. That is why I absolutely reached out. I'm just worried what I'm doing to the people around me. You know, I think I'm just destroying people around me because I'm just not in a good mood. Like I'm not the same.
Yeah. And I guess that's why, when you sent this and you read it, you go, all right, this is something good to discuss and share, because a lot of people are going to go through this at some stage in their life. Now, really fortunate, some people might not. Well, a lot of people won't, but a lot of people will. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that this speaks to everybody, because regardless if you go through it or not, if you know a runner that you are potentially impacted. And maybe you can better know how to handle that situation with that person who is going through it. So like with me, with you, if I knew a lot of these things, I might better know how to handle it. I might better be at least recognize like, oh yeah, Mitch is hurt. So he's aggravated, short fuse. He's not getting a lot of the stuff that he might want to get. Physically, mentally, so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this is a just an informative podcast on that.
And what am I going to do going forward?
Well, and that is the subject line of the next.
I have a lot of people giving me advice. Maybe you're just going to be a biker now. I hate riding a bike.
Well, and it's funny because I don't think that, I mean, some of it I think is done in jest, or just joking.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're going to be a biker now. That's like in a healthy place, you might be able to laugh that off, but in a not healthy place, that doesn't help any.
No.
And I think that that's important to know. It's all fun and games until it's not, until that is no longer just a joke. That's actually putting, I made it too morbid, but another nail in the coffin. You got to be really careful with things like this that, people really get their identity from something. And that's why I think I really brought it up to you on the run a few years back or whatever it was, hey, we really need to be careful with anything that we do. Because if it's taken away tomorrow, we have to know how to move forward. And no matter what.
I think if you do any kind of physical activity, I mean, let's be fair, something is going to hurt at some point. You're going to get an injury. And what are you going to, what do you do in that case?
Yeah. So these are some things. So the next segment, and we certainly do not want to diminish any, piece of this. It's all very important. I think that it's important to reach out to people that are hurt, especially when they've been doing something for a long time, and then you can tell that, oh, that's Joe, the runner. If you say that about somebody, chances are if they lose that piece of them, it'd be really good to just tread lightly, offer support where you can. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it might be, like, oh, that's Steve, the Jeep guy. Well, if for whatever reason, financial difficulties or whatever, he gets rid of the Jeep, same thing. Like, it doesn't even have to be anything physical. Now, it can be, but this is kind of you can use this in any scenario, right? It doesn't have to be just running. And that's why I say it can be any activity. It can really be any type of thing. But so this next piece is some things that, Mitch, you kind of researched, just some, hey, what are some ways, and in this case, it just says navigating life without running. For now, your path forward. And these are some things that you can do or recognize in your life that you should be looking at. So yeah, in order to not maybe misspeak, some of this, I'll just read verbatim, or you can, or whatever, and we can just discuss. And the first thing it says is acknowledge and validate your feelings. Allow yourself to grieve fully. It's okay to feel the anger, sadness, frustration, the jealousy, which that's a big one, obviously, jealousy you're experiencing. Don't suppress the emotions or tell yourself, and this is something that's interesting. Let me read that and then go back to it. But don't suppress the emotions or tell yourself you shouldn't feel this way. Instead, set aside specific time each day to acknowledge these things or these feelings without judgment. For instance, dedicate 15 minutes each morning to journaling. Man, this is crazy. I was just reading about this in a book. For instance, dedicate 15 minutes each morning to journaling about what you miss most about running, or allow yourself a grief walk, GRIEF, grief walk, where you consciously feel the absence of your usual activity. This active processing can prevent emotions from bottling up. Crazy. I just read about this in a book. It's called Emotionally Healthy Leader. And he was saying a lot of this same thing. 50 minutes of journaling each morning. He writes his feelings and things like that, because as we are brought up, the way that we are treated, right, by our parents, right, wrong, or indifferent, does not matter. It's just your upbringing, right? And sometimes you are brought up in a way that's very emotionally healthy, and you know how to process emotions and feelings. And sometimes you're not, and you literally do not know how to process emotions and feelings. So obviously one of those ways is you're in a better place than the other. And I'm in this other place where I really wasn't brought up in a very, I'm not, like, my parents weren't bad. Don't get me wrong here.
No, I think that's interesting, because a lot of people think their parents are bad people because they did this. Your parents are normal people that did the best they knew how, And I learned this later, because I'm the same. I grew up similar. Emotion wasn't expressed in my family either. So you weren't allowed to cry. You weren't allowed, stop crying before I give you something to cry about. I don't know if you've heard that one before.
Yeah.
But it's just, it doesn't make it bad. It's just your parents are normal people just like you are.
Yeah. So in all of that, what he was saying is this whole 50 minutes of journaling, that kind of a thing, and processing emotions. As a matter of fact, I was meeting with another guy, and he said, hey, he has, what did they call it? The feelings. There's a feelings wheel or something like that. And let's say you're feeling angry. So you go to the angry part of the wheel, and then there's other like feelings off that, and you're supposed to like dial in. What that does is it teaches you how to handle and understand what you're feeling. Because if you weren't brought up that way, you don't know how to process that stuff. I'm a stonewaller. Like when I get flooded, I stonewall. I shut up. Like, you are no longer getting in.
Oh, I get angry
to talk to me.
I retaliate.
Well, I think that would be once I'm blown. Like once I've blown my lid, but I stonewall, I think, to not get to that.
I avoid. I would say that for sure. It's funny because what I've been doing is I've been making myself busy. Like I get up early.
So I think that
instead of running in the morning, I just go into work earlier.
Yeah, and I think that would be prevent emotions from bottling up, and you're essentially bottling them up, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
And then when I have downtime, I struggle. Like I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Like I could sit here and watch TV. No. I don't want to do anything. That's just going to, I think, make you understand how much you're missing the running side of it. For sure. Watch driving somewhere and, like
seeing
in the spring
runners
and seeing people out running. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. I see it too. And I don't even have a reason not to. And it makes me, so yeah, for you, I can only imagine.
Running in all my favorite places. I'm like,
get off my route. So then the next part of this is just, it says, recognize the depth of your loss. And you can speak to this next section.
Yeah, it's just, I think I had to come to that realization after I got home of being at Bayshore and only being a spectator.
Did you, as this says, did you recognize the depth of it then?
I recognize it now.
Okay.
Like, I got home and I couldn't figure out, like, I think I was just a jerk, like, the whole weekend. I don't think I wanted to do anything. And I think my family pays for that. And, and at least acknowledging that. I don't know that I'm not doing anything about it, though, because I think I'm just making it worse every day. So I'm just realizing that now and deciding that I need to do something about it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I can definitely see, I know for me, perfect, I don't say perfect example. This would be a light example of what you're going through. For instance, for me with golf, And again,
that you're not a good player.
No, it has nothing to do with skills or ability. It has to do with I love it. And Nicole doesn't mind. Like, she's totally fine with me doing it. But if it's supposed to rain that day, I don't want to say she's excited that I would be home, but I think she is. She's excited that I would be home instead of golfing.
Except for the fact that you're not happy.
Well, then I would be unhappy. And then I'm a grouch.
Yeah.
And so it's again, I don't want to say perfect example, but that is an example of kind of what you're doing.
It's the exact same thing because Tammy knows if I can't get out and run, like, people would always question, like, you do vacations around running? And she's like, what difference does it make? It's one day.
Yeah.
Like, I know if he doesn't run, he's got a little crazy in him.
Yeah.
You know? And so she's never had a problem with that.
Yeah. So acknowledge and validate your feelings. I think that that's a super important piece. Obviously, if you look at any self-awareness, that those are some big steps with across the board with all kinds of emotional turmoil or things in your life that cause you to look introspectively of, what you have going on. Next thing is reframing your identity and purpose. It says, embrace your athlete identity now and always. You are still an athlete. Your current physical state is temporary. It says your resilience, discipline, and passion for pushing limits haven't vanished. They're simply being redirected. View this recovery phase as the most crucial training block of your athletic career. A strategic pause essential for a long-term health and return.
And that part is getting me out to at least walk. It seems so pathetic to just walk, but I know it does something. I know,
100%.
and I've always told this to other people, so why can't I take my own advice? Walking is good.
Yeah, that's true.
So the days I don't feel like it, that's why I was glad that Rob reached out today and said, well, you want to walk at lunch? I'm like,
yeah.
I don't, but
yeah,
I need to. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I think it's important. And, I've said this. I've said this with you before on certain things. Just because of where you're at doesn't change what you've done. Like, you know what I'm saying? You've got this body of work. Because something has changed at the end of that body of work or wherever you're currently at doesn't take away from all you've done. You've still done all that. You have a ton of experience. Part of this podcast was that, like, yeah, we've got a lot of experience and we just want to share our experiences. Doesn't make us experts at all. We have a lot of experiences with running, showing up to the race, the day before the race, showing up to the starting line. What does a finish line feel like? What are the aid stations like? Like all of that stuff. The training, we've done that a lot. 20 years of it and more. And so it's just sharing it. Because you're not running today doesn't take all that away. It doesn't just make it low like, oh, Mitch is no longer a runner. You know what I'm saying? And plug that in for whatever.
It is rough. Like, I'm on a group chat at work and they're, getting up and running every day. And it's like, it's nice. It's great. It's great that I'm part of that. It's great that they're doing it. I'm just not part of it.
It's really hard. Yeah. And I always think of the people that, so there's you who were forced into this situation. And there's those who, I've done it, but I'm good. I can sit back and I can just help. I can race direct or I can volunteer and I've kind of done my thing. And you go.
And I keep doing that stuff. Like, I tried to help out Man Team Triumph at Riverbank and I got on the boom and I was up there with a camera. It's not the same. Like, I don't know. I mean, there are people that can, go over and do that and be fine. And I'm not fine.
Yeah.
I know I can give back. And it's why can't I take my own advice? Like, there's ways to be involved. I can't take my own advice for some reason.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's what I hear is that you still have a lot of passion to do the sport, as well as be involved with it. And it's really hard to be involved when you can't do it. And I think that maybe that is an emotional or a mental thing that maybe needs some extra digging into to go, I don't know, can I find a happy medium? Yeah, because it would be nice to find a healthy place that you can give back to it without having to do, and let the having to do come when it comes. Because let's face it, if for whatever reason it never comes, you don't want to live in that state of like hating the sport because you can't do it.
Yep.
So because if you can be happy while doing it, giving back, that happiness shouldn't change. You should still be happy to be involved with the sport and let the, and again, easy to say, not so easy to do. So I'm not preaching here. I'm just offering some like different perspective. So anyway, gosh, excuse me. I think the Canadian fires are the air quality here is.
Are they down here?
Man, I had such a coughing attack earlier today. It was terrible. I don't think
I've noticed it.
Well,
I have been tracking it though. It does say like the air quality has been bad here.
Yeah. Yeah. And our
I was running, I shouldn't be running.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a good timing.
There you go. So yeah, reframing your identity and your purpose, shift your focus to the recovering, to run again, which, yeah, I think it makes sense to hang on to that. And it starts with baby steps, walking. And who knows, maybe because you're in this state of recovery and repair and all of this, that maybe there's a way to, in a very healthy way, get yourself back, because you're being forced to do it very slow. Because think about this, if you were not forced to do it slow, you'd probably go out and get injured. That's not guaranteed, but you know what you can do. Mm-hmm. So you're like, well, I can go out and run 12 miles.
That's pretty
whatever.
Classic for a lot of runners. Yeah. I know that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Next, managing the mental game. We actually kind of talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to read through these and we can touch on them. But reframe jealousy as passion. We actually did talk about that a little bit. But it says the jealousy you felt watching your wife climb the incline. Oh, yeah, this is you. This is your feelings. So I'm going to let you talk about that. Reframe jealousy as passion. What is that?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like that's the notes in there is, watching Tammy do the incline. I want to be the guy. I want to be the one that does it. I wanted to carry the camera up there and capture footage. I wanted to do all that stuff. And it's just interesting, it's because I love what I do.
Yeah.
So it's, turning that language around from jealousy to just saying, like, acknowledging that that's what I love to do, is that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you love to do.
I didn't take it out on her though.
Yeah.
It's just, other than they needed to get moving and
let's go. Beware of the comparison trap. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's just all of our journeys are uniquely ours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about that too.
And we've talked about that even within running in general. When somebody says, you ran a race and they say, did you win? Well, that's not why I do it. It's driven me nuts over the years when people have compared themselves to me. They come alongside you and they're going to do as much as you, or they're going to beat you. That's not why I run. Like, you do it for you. And I need to turn that around for myself.
Yeah. And I think that to this, a lot of people do it for different reasons, and you are a motivation for people. And so that's okay. I just don't think we need to be careful not to get caught up in what they are running for.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think that that's good that you set a good example or motivation for people to get into it and do like, man, Mitch ran 12 marathons. I can run 6 or I can run 2, that year when, the common, oh my gosh, you're going to run, you just ran a marathon, you're going to run another one. Well, there's obviously very many different levels to it. And that's not why you run. You do it for, for you and whatever, makes you happy. And that's running a bunch of them or whatever, every state or whatever. That's not other people running for different reasons. And that's okay. Celebrate small, concrete, wins and engage with the running community on your terms, which we've already kind of talked about that a little bit, but
we went to dinner with Clint last week and he was asking me about it. I'm like, and I said, it's not a good subject for me right now. I can't talk about it, and he wanted to know how the recovery was going. And the truth of the matter is I am making small steps. Like it does. I've actually walked 3 miles. I couldn't have walked more than 50 feet not that long ago. So it's just not happening fast enough for me. And I need to remember I am better today than I was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll admit, like when I ask you how it's going, it's usually a very short answer. Not good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait a minute, can I get a little more on that?
But, and the reality is it hasn't changed much from last week. It's probably better.
Yeah.
But not enough. That's what I always think.
For you.
For me.
It's not enough. And I think that is, yeah.
And I need to be able to slow it down.
Yeah. Next, the path forward, trusting the process. And I think this is, again, we've kind of touched on this a little bit. Trust your medical team and the process. Patience is your new training partner. Focus on what you can do and embrace the learning curve.
I don't know what to add to that. I mean,
we kind of have talked about a little bit of this just through the process of talking things out. But yeah, I think that all of that really makes sense. Patience is your new training partner. 100%. You've got to.
Rudy has offered to, like we're talking about riding bikes. So maybe this Sunday getting on bikes and.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you were hurt before, you didn't have a problem riding bikes.
Yeah.
Because you used to.
But you were running then. And I would ride next to you.
Yeah. Were you not running at all then?
That was with my back.
That was your back. Yep.
Because I'd get on your fat bike. And
Yep.
That was the famous, you ran and Nicole laid out in the sun.
Oh, yeah.
And I was on the bike. And it was like 90 degrees out.
Was it?
Yeah, it was hot. You came back pretty dehydrated.
Yeah.
And then she said her day was harder.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just good to list. Obviously, again, all of this is easier said than done, but trusting, obviously, your medical people and I guess embracing the fact that when somebody asks, they care. It's.
For sure. There are some people that I don't know if they're making conversation. I don't know, but my close friends for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't fair for me to say that to Clint, to say I can't talk about it, but that's really where I was at.
Yeah. I think that's good though. And I've talked this recently to Nicole. I was saying, we give those that are closest to us the worst of us.
It's true.
We do. Yeah. The closer you get, the more I can treat you bad. Essentially, and that's not fair. I don't think that that's right. But your wife, typically in a marriage, sees the worst of you.
Mm-hmm.
They just do. And that's, for whatever reason, that certainly isn't. There obviously is a lot of built-in trust in each other, and that's why you can, I don't know, it's never good, but I think that it's important that again, this is as the friend side of the person who is injured. We have to understand that, all right, that's okay. And we can move on. And let them talk on their terms. You know what I mean? And this is, I don't want to make light of what you're going through, but this is, again, on a big scale, anything mentally challenging to us where we take away identity, that's huge. And we just have to be okay with, as the friend, being able to say, all right, and move on.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
He did. I mean, you know how nice. He's a good guy. And he changed the subject. It was good.
Yeah, he's good at that. So let's kind of breeze through these next ones. Ideas on what you can do. And these, again, are just some thoughts that Mitch has put together, and take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
Focus on active recovery and prehabilitation. It says dedicate physical therapy and strength training. We've talked about that a lot.
Yep.
Terrence has told us, you guys should really do this. And we go, we just want to run. Cross-training within limits.
That's classic runner stuff.
Yeah. Come on. Swimming, aqua jogging, cycling, elliptical, Nordic track, yoga, Pilates. Yoga, Pilates, 100%, especially for you right now.
I know.
Because that's exactly what you need, I'm guessing.
Is the stretch, The
yoga and cross-training, huge.
Swimming, a couple of people at work have been doing some swimming, and I know how helpful that can be, and I guess it's good that summer is here.
Yeah.
Getting in the pool, but the pool is not always that accessible, unless you pay for a membership and do all that stuff. And you know how I am about crowds, and I don't want to, so
the good thing for you,
I have a lot of anxiety with that too. So
the good thing for you though, if you wanted to do that, you can go early, and there are not a lot of people there early. You are an early up and get your stuff done person. So for you, I know, man, when I would drag my butt out of bed and hit the pool early at 6 o'clock, not many people are there. Now, maybe at the big one, like downtown, but a lot of the smaller gyms, just not a lot of people there at 6 o'clock wanting to jump in the pool.
That first step is cold.
Yeah. But you get moving. Connect with nature in different ways or in new ways. Slow hiking and walking. I have a thing up, pasting from Nicole's phone on my screen just popped up in the way of what I was reading. Nature, photography, sketching.
Yeah, I'm a great artist. I'm an artist.
We'll throw up. We need to have you go out and do that.
I can't color between the lines even.
And then we'll put up pictures and have people vote on the best Mitch.
I'll go up against your grandkids.
There you go. Pick Mitch's pictures. See if you can pick out his versus the grandkids. Camping without strenuous activity, and paddle sports, kayaking, that kind of a thing.
And that we are going to Charlevoix next weekend, or coming up when this comes out.
Yeah.
Bringing the kayaks. I do hope to do some kayaking and some of that.
Next, redirect your competitive / goal-oriented energy, and totally makes sense because all your focus is obviously on running. You need to redirect some of that.
I need a car. I've always wanted a classic car. Now's the time.
Yeah. You're not spending money on marathons and all of that stuff right now.
I know. Maybe I could buy one now.
Yeah. A couple of marathons entries, you can get a car with that, right?
Yeah, no.
Maybe for a few years. Set non-running goals. Volunteer in new capacities because, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe go volunteer for a try or something. The biking section, the swimming and biking. Just stay away from the running.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like this one. Become a knowledge expert. I already think I'm an expert.
Yeah. You have lots of time to study right now. The time that you would normally go out and run in the morning, you should study some form of that sport. Maybe it's how to fix the ailments that you have. That can't hurt. And then nurture your social connections beyond running Yeah. I mean, you've kind of already done some of that.
So I can see my non-running friends now. That's what I need to reconnect with my non-running friends.
Yeah.
That'd be different.
Yeah. It does. I mean, but I think of even the non-running friends that and not even non-running, because I think of like Rudy. It seems like you've spent more time with Rudy over the last year than you did maybe the 2 years prior. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, not that he was excluded, but just like you've got more time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're doing with it. And the dude's super supportive. So it's easy to,
Right.
Join new groups and clubs. Sure. Support other runners actively. I think that's a big one and a big step. Like if you can find freedom and joy in that is a huge step.
Well, what's funny is Karen reached out to me about pacing her.
Oh, yeah. New York?
No, it's actually Copper Harbor.
Oh.
So about as far up in the UP as you can get.
Yeah. I thought she was going to New York.
No, she's doing a 50-miler up there, and it's I think it's the same group that does the Margie Gessick.
Oh.
So it's mostly bikers, and there's like 12 runners. Self-supported. So what I would do is meet her at designated points and make sure she's got what she needs, like water and food and shoes or clothes or stuff like that. So I'm really considering doing that, actually.
Yeah, it makes me think of, man, when I watch Western States videos, I get...
Why, you want to go?
So, up there? No.
That's a long ways. I mean, it may as well be another state.
Yeah.
Or a couple states over.
I'm just curious what it'll do to you like Bayshore did to you.
I don't know. That's what I'm because I told her I'm open and I just have to get the time off and do all that stuff.
I think it would be really good to train for that. Seriously.
Well, it's not pacing.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. You need to be going to races to train yourself mentally to be able to do that in a really positive way, because the last thing your runner needs is a negative Nancy.
A negative me.
Yeah. Like, here's your stuff. I'm out of here.
Throwing stuff at her. She's used to me being grouchy, though.
Yeah. But I think that's something that you'd have to train yourself for, to be the best you in that.
Well, when
situation.
she texted me Wednesday, and I said, I'm not running at all, right? No, I don't need you to run.
Okay.
All right.
When is that?
It's like the 18th of July, 19th.
Okay.
Around there.
What race is it? Have you heard of it?
I have never heard of it.
Interesting.
Let me look at...
I like the UP.
Yeah, Copper Harbor. I haven't been there in...
I've never been there.
30 some years.
But I got a buddy that lives up there. I say a buddy. I haven't seen him since the Marine Corps. But I've talked to him a couple of times. But But he grew up there and graduated, met him in the Marine Corps, and he moved back there, and he's a sheriff up there or something.
It's called Crusher in Copper Harbor. So that sounds like a good, fun name, huh?
Huh.
July 19.
It's just a 50-miler?
I believe so. But I'm sure it's pretty...
I'm sure it's easy. By the name.
It's probably flat.
Yeah, real flat. This next, prioritize mental and emotional well-being 100%. I think that's where I'm saying careful, like the situations you put yourself into. Throwing yourself into a situation that forces you to be around running, I think you got to be in a pretty healthy place to do that. I think the journaling thing, 100%. I think you should be doing that. What's it take? 10, 15 minutes to write down feelings and focus on, like, how do I feel about not joining the run group this morning?
Yeah.
And process that.
I swerve at him when I see him out,
Do you honk first or no?
No, I don't. I want to surprise them. I want to make sure they stay on their game.
Oh my gosh. And seek the professional support always. I think that's good. Like, we should say that. We may have said that in the beginning. Should have said that. But definitely 100% seek professional help.
Which I am doing now.
Yeah. I think it's really good because they are obviously best suited to help direct and guide, give you some support, help to move you in a direction that hopefully you find some peace in. Because I think ultimately that would be the goal, right? That you don't have to give up the sport that you love. You can still be involved with it, regardless of how you can be involved with it, or regardless of whether or not you can do it, right? So even if you could never run again, finding a place that you could still be involved with it and support and love it and find joy in that would be huge. Like that would be the ultimate. The ultimate goal would be able to run it.
Yeah.
But if you can't, that would be the next thing, best thing.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
I think that we have exhausted it.
Exhausted.
I'm ready.
That was an ultra. Well, hopefully that does help somebody else. At the end of the day, talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to a professional. Get help in whatever situation that you're in, giving up something that's a part of your identity. And hopefully that helps. Share this with somebody else that is potentially in that situation that maybe they can glean something from it and take a step in the right direction. But be sure to check us out on Facebook, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Patreon, all your different social podcast listening platforms. But that is going to wrap up this week's episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know.
Until then, happy running.